The leader of the Netherlands Populist Party, Forum for Democracy, Thierry Baudet, has compared his government's discriminatory policies towards the unvaccinated to those of Jews during the Second World War. In a Twitter post, Baudet responded to the cabinet's proposal to ban all unvaccinated people from specific locations, and states that the current situation can be compared with the 1930s and 1940s. He added that, the unvaccinated are the new Jews. The ignorant exclusions are the new Nazis and National Socialist movement in the Netherlands. Baudet's party detailed how, in the run-up to, and during World War II, how ordinary Germans were so misled by the state propaganda that they cheered and encouraged the hunt for Jews. They stated, they had been so thoroughly brainwashed, that they felt morally obligated to aid in the slow and agonizing demise of innocent people and families. This is a stark comparison to today's policies. Baudet's party also detailed in chronological order what happened between the 1930s and 1940s. As early as April 1, 1933, the German state organized a boycott of Jewish entrepreneurs and liberal professions. In September 1935, the state pronounced comprehensive legislation in nationality and citizenship. With these laws, Jews were placed outside the German people's community. In the Netherlands, it started on July 1, 1940, when Jews were forbidden to work in the Air Protection Service. Then there was a ban on Jews to work in public service. Then they were no longer welcome in Amsterdam markets. In November of that year, there was an announcement that Jewish officials would be suspended, and on February 21, 1941, they were subsequently dismissed. On January 7, there was a ban on Jews visiting cinemas. A few days later, all Jews were mandated to register. In various public places, there were signs with the text "Jews not wished." The party said that there is a lot of similarity in how the Jews were treated at that time, and the way the unvaccinated are being treated now. Similarly, a German state-funded media correspondence journalist, Sarah Fruhauf, has engaged in dangerous propaganda against the unvaccinated. The German journalist attacked unvaccinated people in a televised broadcast and called for mandatory vaccinations. She accused the unvaccinated of mass murder, claiming that they are responsible for the thousands of lost lives during this wave of corona. She added that, all those who refuse to get vaccinated have to live with the rebuke that they are to blame for the present situation.
Na, herzlichen Dank an alle Ungeimpften. Dank euch droht der nächste Winter im Lockdown. Vielerorts wieder ohne Weihnachtsmärkte, vielleicht wieder ohne die Weihnachtsfeiertage im Familienkreis. Die angekündigten Maßnahmen in Sachsen und Bayern sind ein Schlag ins Gesicht für alle, die in den vergangenen Monaten solidarisch waren, die sich haben impfen lassen. Die Einschränkungen sind notwendig, ohne Frage, wären aber nicht nötig gewesen, wenn mehr Menschen verantwortlich gehandelt hätten. Alle Impfverweigerer müssen sich den Vorwurf gefallen lassen, an der derzeitigen Situation mitschuld zu sein. Sie tragen Mitverantwortung dafür, dass die Gesellschaft wieder unter Druck gerät. Wieder Ärzte und Pflegekräfte über ihre Grenzen hinaus arbeiten müssen. Wieder Gastronomen und Ladenbesitzer um ihre Existenz bangen. Und sie müssen sich fragen, welche Mitverantwortung sie haben an den wohl tausenden Opfern dieser Corona-Welle. Viel zu lange haben die politisch Verantwortlichen gezögert. Sie hätten viel früher den Druck auf Ungeimpfte erhöhen müssen. Sie halten aber wohl Angst, dass sich die Wut der Ungeimpften in Wahlergebnissen niederschlägt. Das war fahrlässig und auch deswegen ist es nun, wie es ist. Die Welle lässt sich nicht mehr aufhalten. Doch Deutschland muss raus aus der Corona-Endlosschleife. Denn irgendwann machen auch die Geimpften, die Solidarischen, nicht mehr mit. Haben auch keine Lust mehr, sich an die Anti-Corona-Maßnahmen zu halten. Die Politik muss ihnen eine Perspektive geben. Ein Winter wie dieser darf sich nicht wiederholen. Wie das geht? Unser Nachbarland Österreich macht es vor. Mit einer Impfpflicht. Für alle, denen das medizinisch möglich ist.
Former British Prime Minister, Tony Blair, in a televised interview with Sky News, calls for the segregation of unvaccinated people, and that vaccinated people should enjoy greater freedoms.
Look, I believe there should be a distinction between those who are vaccinated and those who are unvaccinated, and people who are vaccinated should be able to enjoy greater freedom to travel and greater freedom from restrictions. And most countries around the world now are drawing this distinction, because if you are vaccinated, fully vaccinated, you're less likely to transmit the disease, less likely to get it, and less likely to be seriously ill. So there are two...
In Australia, the Queensland president of the Australian Medical Association, Dr. Chris Perry, said during a live television appearance that people still refusing to get the vaccine will be miserable and lonely for the rest of their lives. Dr. Chris Perry said, "Oh, they're crazy not to get vaccinated. life will be miserable without getting vaccinated. You won't be able to hide, you won't be able to get a doctor to sign off that you got an exclusion because there's quite set rules on that and doctors will be audited. Every one of their exclusions will be looked at very carefully, he added, before threatening doctors with fines and termination. Perry also threatened people who falsely obtain a vaccine exemption that they will also be hit with fraud charges if they try and get round the system. It's going to be very hard to maintain your employment if you're not vaccinated and you won't be able to go anywhere for any entertainment, he said. Perry concluded by saying that those who don't get double jabbed will have a very, very lonely life and wouldn't be able to maintain a job.
A smart play from the Premier, there's no doubt about it, that you have to try and get people to lose something in order to get something. and look, there are going to be dramas, I'm sure, especially around the Gold Coast area, but there's only really one decision for people to make.
Yep. Oh, they're crazy not to get vaccinated. Life will be miserable without being vaccinated. You won't be able to get any, you won't be able to hide, you won't be able to get a doctor to sign off that you got an exclusion because there's quite set rules on that, and doctors will be audited to see every one of their exclusions will be looked at very carefully. They'll get fined, they can get struck off. The patients who tell lies can be charged with fraud. There's a whole pile of issues, whole pile of problems if you try and get around the system. It's going to be very hard to maintain your employment if you're not vaccinated. You won't be able to go anywhere for any entertainment. So by all means, get vaccinated. You've got another week where you can get double vaccinated before the 15th to 17th of December, when it's definitely coming in, and there'll be proof that you've been vaccinated, firm proof. You'll be asked to show going into most venues. So get vaccinated, otherwise you're going to have a very, very lonely life and you're not going to be able to maintain your employment.
It is well documented that the Nazis effectively used fear and propaganda to win the support of millions of Germans in a democracy, and later in a dictatorship, to facilitate persecution, war, and ultimately genocide. The Nazis used ghettos to isolate and contain the Jewish population of occupied Europe, and crushed opposition through state media propaganda, fear and intimidation. Propaganda and social control kept the population in line. Censorship was also at the top of the arsenal used to control the people. Any media that conveyed anti-Nazi ideas or other ways of life was censored. Censorship of newspapers, radio, cinema and the theatre was enforced. Only books which agreed with the Nazi point of view were allowed. All other books were banned, and many were publicly burned. It is fair to argue that there are many similarities today. First, communities have been divided into vaccinated and unvaccinated, and a sizable portion of the population strongly believe it should remain that way. But, then, censorship is also at its peak. There is ongoing suppression of speech and other information that goes against government's official narratives. Various leaders are coercively stripping human rights laws, and enforcing draconian laws on large scales. Austria, for example, locked the unvaccinated and days later announced forced vaccination. Germany is following suit, and I am sure many other countries will do the same. Please leave your comments below on what you think. Also, please like or dislike the video, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and be notified when we post new videos. Thank you.